With Betsy. Will I be able to hear him? Betsy!
Hi, friend!
How's it
I
going?
gotta adjust my camera.
Yeah,
I'm
me
at the
too.
BroadwayEvolved headquarters. Look at you with your cute brick background.
You know what it is? It's I should try to keep up the ruse, but I use this for self tapes because I love the like exposed brick of like a New York apartment, but now I live in LA, so you can see it's just a
Oh
piece of
my gosh,
masonite.
that's not real?
No, it's a piece of masonite. It's leaning against my wall,
That
and
is
so
amazing.
I use it for self tapes because it has nice texture.
Oh my gosh, I
But yeah,
love that so much.
you can buy it at like Home Depot for like $25. It's like a big piece of masonite. It's super
I
thin.
love this. And people thought they were joining today for a BroadwayEvolved homeschool. And instead, it's Secrets of the Self-Tape. Hi, everyone. I'm Betsy Wolfe,
Right.
co-founder of BroadwayEvolved. And above me is the brilliant, brilliant actor and dear friend, Eric Petersen. Welcome,
Hello.
Eric. You're in California, so you woke up nice and early. Of course, you have two kids, so you were probably up.
I'll tell you, I stayed up late last night binging a TV show, so I got up at like 8 o'clock, which is very late for me. Very late.
What did
I binge? I binged a show called The English Game. It's on Netflix. It's about the creation of soccer, of like organized soccer. It's written by Julian Fellows, so it's very Downton Abbey, like upper crusty soccer players and working class soccer players.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love that so much. Do you maybe we'll just dive into that. Do you watch more TV now that you're going to be a TV star again? Do you find that you watch is it important for you to keep up with TV shows and what's going on and watch the different things? I mean, you've now been a part of sitcoms, you've done dramas, so what does that look like for you?
Yes, it is very important for me, and I definitely watch a lot of TV. I love watching TV, so like I'm not gonna lie and be like, oh, it's so hard, it's work. But
That's research.
I do view it as work. Like my wife Lisa and I, we try, especially when new shows come out, to at least watch the pilot of everything, literally everything,
Wow.
because I want to be at the ready. If I get an audition for a TV show, I may not be up to date on it, but if I saw the pilot, I have a sense of the tone of a show and the style of a show. So it is very important to me to watch a lot of TV. And now there's so much out, so it's kind of impossible with everything on Amazon and Netflix and the regular networks and everything and cable. But I do my best to watch a lot of TV.
I love that. I actually think that's really important. I mean, it's watching the pilot, everything, even if you don't, because oftentimes I'll get something and I'll realize, oh, I really don't know what this is about, and I'll have to go and do like a deep dive. So
yeah,
that's good quarantine advice for you kids out there. Is
be the pilot of everything.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Eric, I met you. So we first started working on a show called Up Here out in La Jolla, which is by the creators of Frozen, Book of Mormon, just Avenue Q to name a few, as well as the genius Alex Timbers.
Yes.
And then you came out, so we did that in La Jolla, and developing a new show, which was really, really cool. We got to play brother and sister. Yes. And then I believe after that, you came out to do School of Rock. Am I correct? That was when you moved your family?
So I've moved back and forth between New York and LA essentially 6 times, a lot of times, and that's with the wife and 2 kids. So that's I have a very understanding family. But yeah, I think when we did La Jolla, my son had just been born. So yes, I was living in LA at the time, and then shortly thereafter got School of Rock in New York. So we moved back to New York in 2016. And I did School of Rock for a year, and then I did Escape to Margaritaville for a year. And then when that ended in 2018, I believe, we moved back to LA, and now that's where we are.
And so, I mean, obviously you understand when we talk about like this career requires sacrifices and this career requires you to be flexible. That is a very, very clear example of some of the things that it requires.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't just require you to be flexible. It requires whoever you are in a relationship with to also be flexible and understand it. I mean, it helps. My wife is a preschool teacher now, but she was an actress when we met. So she comes from an arts background. So she understood at times when I was like, hey, I just got the lead in a Broadway show. We have to move back to New York. There wasn't a question of like, is that really important? Like, she knew that that was an important thing. And so like, it wasn't a question of whether we would do that. But it is a lot of sacrifice on both of our, counts for like being able to not know where the next paycheck is coming from, but like just kind of, we always say we go with the wind, and as long as we're together, we're okay.
I love that. And okay, so tell me a little bit about School of Rock in the sense that you came in and you replaced this huge role. Yeah. And it's not only iconic for a film, but then it had been originated by someone else, and you know how that goes. And what was your journey like with that, and how did you adjust? What sacrifices, what adjustments did you make, and what did you say? No, this is the way I want to do it. And what did that look like?
Sure. So I had auditioned for the show when it was going to Broadway. And my wife, speaking again of how amazing she is, she was literally in the hospital, in the stirrups, in labor, when I got the call to go to audition for School of Rock in New York when they were first going to Broadway.
And what, you were on your phone?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm busy.
Well, I got a call. I got like an email, I think, saying, can you come to New York like in 2 days? And she was literally like, not just like, oh, I'm pregnant or like we're on our way. She was in the hospital in the stirrups. Yes. And she was like, you have to go. And I was like, I can't go. You're pregnant. You're like giving birth to our son. No. And she was literally booked me a flight while she was like in labor. So I flew to New York, and I got to see my son be born. And then like 2 days later, I flew to New York. And that was for, the original Broadway. And I didn't get it, but I felt good about it. I felt like I, had done a good job. And then I kind of put it out of my mind. And then it was about a year later that Tara Rubin's office called me and was like, do you want to come back in for School of Rock? And I was like, yeah, I do. And so I flew in again because I was living in LA at the time, and got it, which was amazing. So then I had to tell, my wife and kids, like, we're moving back to New York. And so then we did. And the rehearsal process and the creative process of the show was awesome. Like, Alex was awesome. And like, we passed in a very professional way. And he gave me a few tips, but like also didn't try to be like, listen, this is how you got to do it. He was like, you're going to be awesome. Go, run, have fun.
He's amazing. Of course he'd be
great.
Like that. Yeah.
Super talented. Amazing. And in the rehearsal process, like, it really was. They were like, how do you want to play this role? There was never any like, well, Alex does it this way, so we have to do it this way, I loved doing School of Rock. It was by far the hardest show I've ever done. It was physically harder than Shrek. It was vocally harder than anything I've ever done. It was, I found that if I was not like laying prone and silent all day long, I would feel it in the show. Like I could go for a walk with my kids in the park, just a leisurely walk. And if I did that, I would feel it in the show. It's not like I couldn't finish, but I would be like at the end of Act 2 and I'd be like, oh, I shouldn't have gone for that walk. It took the full gas tank of power to get through that show. So it was very, very challenging, but also one of the best times I've ever had.
I love that. So one of the things that we always talk about at BroadwayEvolved is how you're not just a Broadway actor. You're not just a TV actor. And I think in today's climate, we're seeing this now. You have to be kind of this like multi-hyphenate. And so you now have this incredible new show that we should definitely talk about, this new TV show, although it's like, I know everything's kind of on this like crazy pause button. Eric, you just got announced for this major TV show, and it's so interesting to me because a lot of people talk about like, well, it's different mediums. You are like a larger than life, amazing character actor who's done such incredible roles like Shrek and School of Rock. And yet you are also, I know, just even from like working with you, you have the ability to do anything and everything you want. So how does that transfer? It's true. You do. So how does that like, do you think about that in terms of TV acting versus acting for the stage? Is there a big difference for you?
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is like the idea that when you're doing it on stage, you're playing to the back row, and when you're doing television work, it's just you play to the camera. But also, I will say that a lot of the TV stuff that I've done has been multicam as opposed to single cam, which definitely lends itself to a more theatrical style of acting. But I've also done a lot of single cam too. So
what are some of our favorite multicam shows? Like, say, like some very popular.
So, like a multicam show would be like Friends or Seinfeld or Cheers or really anything before 1998, right?
Yes.
And that's where you're doing a taped show in front of a live studio audience. Usually, there's 4 cameras. So there's an A camera on the left, a B camera in the middle, a C camera on the side, and then an X camera that's usually on a boom. And you're doing it. There's no fourth wall. It's sort of very theatrical in its the way that it's shot, right? And played. And then a single camera show would be like The Office or Parks and Rec or almost anything nowadays that's made. And the idea being that that's shot with no studio audience. It's one camera that is flipping perspective. Like if it's a conversation between 2 people, you have an over-the-shoulder shot between this person, and then they flip and get the other person's coverage. So it takes a lot longer. It's a more film style in its presentation. And then obviously the acting in single cam, especially if you're doing like single cam comedy, it's much more subtle. You know, it's just little like eyebrow raises and like eyes widening or squinting. Like that's your reactions are like that. Whereas if you're doing multicam, you can be a little bit bigger. So what's cool about this show that I'm doing coming up when
Tell us about
this
it.
ends, the show is called if there's children I'll
there are kids,
myself.
But you can bleep it out.
Okay, it is called the show is called Kevin Can Beep Himself. And the idea of the show is that there's all these classic sitcoms, right? And there's usually a buffoon of a husband who is always getting into hijinks and scandals and, you know, goof 'em ups and everything. And then he usually has a wife who's very understanding. And, you know, whenever he's like does something stupid, you know, he'll be like, hey, babe, can you go grab me a beer or something like that? And
this is every sitcom we've ever seen.
Right? And the wife usually just kind of like rolls her eyes and is like, okay, honey, and goes into the kitchen. Right? Exactly. So what this show is it's a deconstruction of that character, of the sitcom wife. So what's cool about our show, and it's never been done before on TV, so this is very exciting, is the show starts in multicam, as I just explained, with like a live studio audience, 3 cameras, much broader acting style. It's very well lit. There's probably a laugh track. And I say something to my wife, and she's like, okay. And as she walks into the kitchen, where normally the TV show would stay in the family room, our show smash cuts to the kitchen, and now we're in single camera, and it's not well lit. It's much more real and grungy and grimy, and you see the frustration that she's going through of like, how am I dealing with this jerk of a husband, and like, does he really love me, and am I happy, and what do I want in life, and how do I achieve that? And so it really follows her story. But what's cool is the show is going to go back and forth between whenever she's with me, because I play the husband, Kevin. Whenever she's with me, it's in multicam, and then whenever she's by herself, it's in single cam, which is amazing.
I love this concept. I love this concept.
And the actress that's playing my wife is Annie Murphy, who plays Alexis on Schitt's Creek. So she is like
one of my
so talented, so funny
things to binge watch.
Yeah.
It's genius. Did you know, like, we talk a lot about like gut and you know, this business is full of rejection. There are pilot seasons every year, right? You've had a pilot. And this one then came up. Did you have like a gut feeling? Did you have something within you? Or are you really truly able to like throw things away? Or do you know when to fight for things? Do you know when not to? We always try to talk about like listening to yourself.
Sure. That's a great question. Yes, there's so much rejection, and like I have been at this point, I'm almost 40 years old. And have been doing this for enough years that I am able to pretty well, not completely, but pretty well compartmentalize auditions. And I do a lot of teaching out here, and I always tell kids, I'm like, when you go in, the audition has to be the most important thing in your life. You are hyper focused, laser focused on what you have to do, what you're selling, what is your energy, all those things, right? And the second you leave the door, it literally is as if it never existed. You never had the audition. There's nothing to wait for. There's no, did I get it? Did I not get it? It's done. You've already shown your work and said, this is what I do.
And you have to release
if you're into it, great. Give me a call. We can talk more. If you're not, I don't even remember that I auditioned for it, right? And so I'm pretty good at doing that. But I will say there are things, as you're talking about, like your gut, that feels like this is the one. This audition process for this show for Kevin took a little while because they were trying to get some other pieces of the show lined up, right? And at one point, I felt so good about this show. I love sitcoms. I love sitcom acting. I'm a historian of sitcoms and stuff like that. I teach a sitcom acting class at a college here in LA. I was like, this show is amazing. It's like deconstructing my most favorite art form and would allow me to showcase what I do in a really great way, right? And so I was like, this is the one. And my managers at one point were like, hey, I think, let's not worry about, it's just the start of pilot season. There's still going to be a bunch of stuff. I was like, no. I don't want a bunch of stuff. This is the show. This is the one. I feel it in my gut. I know that this is the show that I need to do. So I'm very happy that it worked out. And hopefully this Corona will flutter on down the road.
I know. Speaking of, I will end this. How are you doing today? So I always like to ask, who are you quarantining with? Obviously, you're with your family. You're in LA. And how are you doing? And how are you staying inspired as an artist? And how are you doing?
That's a great question. I'm doing good. I feel good. I'm trying. It's helpful. So I'm with my wife, Lisa, and my two kids. My daughter, Sophia, is 9, and my son, Miles, is 5.
Are you also homeschooling them?
Yeah, so we're also homeschooling because there's no more school. So we're not having to do a ton, frankly, which is kind of nice because like my son is doing ABC Mouse, which is, like an online preschool thing. And then his school is also doing some Zoom classes like for the preschoolers. And then Sophie's school is doing Zoom classes where they're, the teacher goes through their day and we have a schedule for them about when we're going to do PE and we go for a walk and go for a bike ride and stuff like that. So we're doing good. We're all healthy, knock on wood. And, we're safe. We got food and toilet paper. And so we're very blessed. I'm not worried about our safety or our health right now, which is great. How I'm staying inspired, I will say what's great about this time, that something I'm doing and I'm seeing so many people doing, is nobody has the excuse anymore of I just don't have time, right? All we have is time. And so if you ever wanted to work on self-tapes or put out music or learn to play the guitar or learn a language or learn to draw, you can learn everything online, and you have all the time in the world, right? And so I've been recording little song videos, and I've been playing the guitar more, and this is a fun thing. I'm learning to become a hat maker. Crazy.
A hat maker?
I love hats, right? I'll show you a quick shot.
Yes.
That's my hat. That's my hat wall, right?
Oh my, yeah, I know your hats.
So,
you have amazing hats.
I love hats. Hang on, I don't want this thing to fall. Whoa. Okay. So I took a hat class to learn how to become a hatter, to make hats. So this is my first hat. It's not done yet.
How very Mrs. Malloy of you.
But I made this hat, from scratch. And
I love that so much.
I sewed it in, and I sewed the like sweatband in and stuff like that. And so that's like my new thing that I'm learning in the quarantine is how to become a hat maker.
Eric Petersen, Broadway star, TV star, hat maker.
That's right. Yeah.
Don't limit yourself, children.
That's right.
Don't do it. I love that so much. Okay, if you could tell your 15-year-old self something, what would it be? We'll end with that.
It would be...
Especially right now, because 15...
Sure.
Think about it. These kids are like devastated. I don't blame them. All their shows were canceled. Everything seems like the world is ending.
Yes.
So what would you say?
Especially in light of what's happening right now, right? Mm-hmm. If you're a kid in high school and you're like, your show or your school year has ended and it's like, this sucks. It does.
It does.
Make art about it, right? There's a famous quote from Meryl Streep that says, take your broken heart and turn it into art, right? And so, like, take the moment, know that, like, it's not the end. If you want to do theater, you can always continue to do theater, whether that's at a professional level, at a community theater level, at your church, at your school, your college, whatever. There's always places to be creative. So take this time that, like, stinks that, you know, whatever you were possibly going to be doing is not happening anymore, and make art about it. Express your feelings, because if you have true feelings of rage, love, sadness, whatever it is, tap into those things, explore them, write about them, make songs about them, write a play about them, write a scene about them, write a monologue about them, and then make that. And know that this is going to pass. It sucks, and it's like a scary time, and there's going to be some bad stuff before it's all over, but it will pass. It's not like this is the end of the world. We have the time now to slow down. Hopefully, I'm not like a crazy environmentalist, but I think the earth is doing some healing right now.
The earth is
breathing a bit more. And like, yeah, so I think we need to like just try to see this in the most positive light that we can.
And I do think that all those feelings are valid too, what you were saying. Some days you're going to be quiet on the inside, and some days it'll be a quiet art, and some days it will be a productive art. And I think it's all valid. I am so excited. We can't wait to get you to New York to someday come to our Broadway Evolved summer program. We will have an excuse to bring you back.
Once I shoot my show, it's going to shoot in Boston, so I'll be on the East Coast, so I can sit on down. Yeah.
I'm so excited. Eric Petersen, you are incredible. You are such
I love you, Betsy.
Thank you for coming on. And everyone else, we'll see you tomorrow. Special guest, yours truly. All right, we'll see you later.
Bye. All right, I'm going to end this.
Bye.